Okay, well, here we are with a live broadcast, and I hope you're able to see this, able to hear me. If you have any questions, you can ask them on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/rightweather or facebook.com/Fred Campagna, and there's a thread on there where you can ask those questions. You can also tweet us those questions. It's Twitter. .com/Fred Campagna. We'll try to answer those questions. We have a whole bunch of questions lined up. First, though, let's just talk a little bit about the storm. Let's see if we can get this to work here, though. Whoops. Somehow my broadcast is playing back on my computer somewhere as well, so I'll have to find that. And there's a thread on there where you can ask those questions. You can also see if we can find that. Hold on one second. Bear with us. Little technical difficulty. There we go. All right. I had a situation where I was hearing myself, which is never a good thing. All right. So let's take a look at what's going on with this storm. Hopefully our screen share is going to work here, and it looks like it's working just fine. And this is the storm in really two phases. We've got this Arctic boundary with extraordinarily cold air, central and eastern Canada showing up. It's pretty cold in southern New England as well, but it doesn't compare to what's showing up in the northern tier states, north of the Great Lakes, up into central Canada, eastern Canada. So this is one area of snow right here. This is what's moving in later tonight and into tomorrow. We expect this Arctic boundary, though, the snow with it anyway, to lift a little farther north than the Rhode Island border for a time during the day tomorrow. At the same time, we've got all this energy down in the Gulf of Mexico and the jet stream. And the two of these are going to hook up and form a storm that will bring us this continuing snow tomorrow night and into early Friday. And that's when most of the snow is going to fall with this storm. There is still a decent amount of uncertainty as far as how much snow will fall in southeastern New England. In fact, when we look at here the future radar, this takes it out now to about 7 o'clock tomorrow evening, and you see this large hole between the boundary and the developing storm. That's one of the things that we're concerned about, how well that will fill in. Notice how we can zoom in here, and this interactive radar is available on rightweather.com, and you can do the very same things that I'm doing right now, play with it and look at that forecast. And you can see the snow showing up from about east of Providence right through eastern Massachusetts. We expect this area to fill in tomorrow night. How quickly that happens will determine how much snow falls in the western part of Rhode Island and in parts of Connecticut. And once you get west of Worcester, lots of heavy shower and thunderstorm activity around the developing storm. The storm is going to track far enough offshore that the brunt of it will most likely stay south and east of southern New England, and that's a good thing, because if it tracks any closer with all that cold air in place, it would just be a mega snowstorm for the I-95 corridor. As it is, it's a pretty impressive storm. When you look at our snow map that we've had on the site, this updated version, since earlier today, you see that most of southern New England is going to end up with more than 7 inches of snow, a decent chance of more than a foot of snow in parts of eastern Massachusetts. Some of the computer models take the real heavy accumulating snow out onto the Cape and onto the islands. For now, we're keeping the lower Cape in 7 to 11, but we might have to adjust that. We've got most of Rhode Island between 7 and 11. And then the potential for the snow hole, which a lot of people like to talk about the snow hole after the storm we had last year, where Rhode Island was spared heavy snow when surrounding areas got it. It doesn't always happen, but the potential for that with this storm appears to be in coastal Connecticut and maybe into southwestern Rhode Island. So let's get to a few of questions that have been asked in the last couple of hours on Facebook and on Twitter. Let's see, here's a question, and I forgot to put the names with these questions. I just cut and pasted them, so my apology if I don't remember who asked them. But any possibility that this event blows up and we could get a major instead of a moderate storm that comes closer to the coast? That is a good question, and that is definitely a possibility with this storm at this point. At this point in time, one of the things that's interesting is that it's such a long duration storm that it doesn't really get going until tomorrow night. So we're not 6 hours or 4 hours away from it starting in earnest. We're 4 to 6 hours away from the first flakes falling, but most of what happens during the day tomorrow is very, very light in a good chunk of southern New England. In fact, by tomorrow sunset, there may only be a couple of inches of snow on the ground in many spots. It's tomorrow night that the storm gets formed, and there is a possibility. We've seen the models wavering a little bit back and forth as far as the track of the storm goes, and because of the fluff factor with the Arctic air in place, if it does track closer to the coast, then it becomes a major storm for a few reasons. One of them would be the wind would be a much bigger impact if it came closer to the coast, and then you get into the heavier snowfall as well. So lots of blowing and drifting possible if the storm tracks closer to the coast. So yes, that is still in play. Do you think the Providence area could end up in a blizzard warning? Well, pro members will note that we were talking about blizzard conditions on Monday with this storm, so that doesn't surprise us that there is now a blizzard warning, which is in effect, and we'll show you this here. You've got a blizzard warning in effect for Long Island right now, winter storm warning for the rest of basically the Northeast. If there is to be a blizzard warning in southern New England, I think the best chance of it happening is out on the Cape and on the islands, as opposed to in the Providence area. But it is possible that it could happen in the Providence area, but there's a better chance of seeing it from about New Bedford east through the Cape, maybe even into Boston. So it's eastern Massachusetts that stands the best chance of being in a blizzard warning. Another question was when and where can we expect that blizzard warning to pop up? Well, we answered the where, and the when part of it is basically tomorrow at some point. I think the National Weather Service said they might revisit it. So maybe by early tomorrow morning, if tonight's computer model runs come in with a pretty impressive storm, there's a possibility that they will make the call to go with the blizzard warning in part of southern New England. Another question was blizzard in Newport with a question mark, and yeah, it's possible. I mean, technically, a blizzard, you need 3 straight hours, 35-mile-per-hour winds, and quarter-mile visibility, or half-mile or less visibility. Blizzard doesn't really have anything to do with the amount of snow that you get. You can have a blizzard when there's just a few inches of snow that falls. So it has to do with the visibility, the wind, and it used to have to do with the temperature, but they dropped that from the equation. Another question here, what time will the heavy snow start tomorrow night from Boston to Providence? Okay, well, we'll go back to our graphics here, and we'll go to our storm timeline. Give you a look at that. And you can see that the steady snow, we're not even calling it heavy snow at this point because we might be in a situation where we never really get into heavy snow in the Providence area. And in Boston, there's a better chance of seeing at least high-end moderate snow coming down, but we're talking about 4 to 8 inches of snow in 12 hours, so that's not really heavy snow. But the steadier snow beginning sometime between about 7 and 9 o'clock or so tomorrow evening in the Providence area, and then continuing overnight. The worst weather is likely from, I would say, about 11 o'clock in the evening until about 7 o'clock in the morning on Friday morning. Let's see. Oh, here's a popular question. What would your guess be regarding school cancellations? And another one that was just more straightforward, saying, can you tell Providence to cancel school tomorrow? Well, I can't tell Providence to cancel school tomorrow, and I don't know that I would either. I think that if it, I think if, it's funny, people tweeting that I'm picking my nose. I don't think I picked my nose. Maybe I did. I don't know. Tell Providence to cancel school. I'm not going to do that, and the reason that I wouldn't do that is because it's going to be light snow tomorrow. So it's possible that superintendents get a little bit scared off by the potential that this storm has, and they're a little confused about the forecast, but most of the day tomorrow should be okay to have school. It is coming off of a vacation, so maybe that plays into it a little bit, in that it's just easier to kind of not have the kids come back for a day. There's a really good chance that there won't be school on Friday. If this forecast plays out, there will not be school on Friday. So that there's a a good chance no school on Friday. Tomorrow, it's not in our hands, but there's a possibility that there'll be some cancellations. And actually, there already are some cancellations and delays, I believe, that have been called for tomorrow with some private schools anyway in the area. Is the temperature going to be a concern to the coastal areas, or is it going to stay all snow for everyone? This is an all snow event for everyone. It's a very dry and fluffy snow, but I think that I think it's going to be the kind of snow that we don't often get, a real powdery snow falling, and the wind will be blowing it around, so that'll make it a little more difficult as far as keeping it off of your driveway, but it will be lighter than a lot of the snowstorms that we have seen, which leads pretty nicely into another question, which is what is the wind situation going to be like for those along the Rhode Island coast worried about outages as usual? And we are expecting strong winds, but we're not expecting widespread power outages. So I would say the wind situation around the Rhode Island coast, 30 to 45 miles an hour, and maybe a little bit stronger in eastern Massachusetts. But I think that there's not as high of a chance of power outages as there was with the February blizzard, and the reason for that is that the snow is not going to be as pasty as it was in the February blizzard. You may remember the snow that fell during the evening in the February blizzard was very wet and heavy snow. It stuck to all the trees, and then it was followed by a drier and powdery snow, which kind of piled onto that and then led to a lot of power outages. This time around, the snow that falls is not going to be nearly as sticky, so I don't expect it to be a situation where it brings down as many trees and branches as that February blizzard. I don't expect the winds to be as strong as they were during the February blizzard, but 50-plus mile per hour gusts are possible especially in eastern Massachusetts. Okay. My concern is power outages. I know 25 mile per hour is not crazy strong winds, but how do you think we will hold out in Rhode Island? And again, we just talked about that. Someone looking at the other end of the spectrum, I get so many questions about could this be bigger? Could this be bigger? Someone saying the voice of reason stepping in and saying any chance of lower accumulations with this one, and yeah, that's always a possibility, although I don't think that it's likely that it'll be less than 6 inches in most of the area. I think that there's a strong possibility of at least a half a foot. So rather than being a 7 to kind of 15-inch snowfall that we're forecasting right now for Rhode Island and for southeastern Massachusetts, it may end up being on the low end, more of like a 5 to 10 kind of a situation, which is still a decent snowstorm anyway for southeastern New England. Here's another question. When you are this close to a storm happening, do you see major shifts in storm track and snow amounts, or is it more tweaking and zeroing in on certain areas? Well, that's a really good question, and as I mentioned earlier, if this were tomorrow night at this time, it kind of goes into nowcasting, where we're just looking at the radar, we're looking at where the snow is developing, but at this point, still about 27 to 30 hours away from the storm really getting organized, or at least the heaviest part of the storm, we're still in a situation where we're watching the computer models very closely, and there is the potential for some uncertainty with the storm track at this point. So this is still a situation where there could be more or less wholesale changes in the snow accumulation map by tomorrow morning. We don't anticipate that, but it's something that could happen. I'm trying to bring up something right now that might give you an idea about what it is that we have to contend with. And let's just switch this over so you can get a look at it. Okay, so here's some computer modeling that we look at, and basically what we're looking at here is for the Providence area, and these are different ensemble members. So all of these computer models, there are 23 of them here, are run with slightly different parameters, and the idea is that when they're run and tweaked a little bit, that sometimes you can get a consensus among the models, and that helps you to eliminate some of the error. So if you have one computer model that's completely out to lunch, then you know you don't end up necessarily going with that model when you go with the ones that are clustered more toward the middle here, the mean. And this is from earlier today. Now, we do have one computer model run here that wants to give 38 inches of snow in the Providence area. You can see that it's way, way high up there. On the low end, we've got a couple that are only about 5 inches of snow, 5 to 6 inches of snow in the Providence area. The black line right in here is what's called the mean. It's the average. And that's actually 13 inches. But when we drop out this one that's really out to lunch, so we'll pull that one out, it drops the mean down to about 12 inches. So you may say, well, your forecast is 7 to 11 in the Providence area. The mean forecast there is 12 inches. Why aren't you predicting that? There are many, many different computer models that we look at. This is just a sampling of one of them. But it also gives you an idea about the uncertainty still with this forecast at this point, where you have a few clustered down around 6 inches of snow, and then you have a few up here clustered between about 15 and 20 inches of snow. I like these right in here that are generally between about 9 and 11 inches of snow, and that's about where we are as far as the storm forecast goes. So let's see. Do you think we'll be able to get things done during the day? Let me pull up a graphic here that is a little more appealing than that. Do you think we'll be able to get things done during the day on Thursday, like moving things between storage, etc., or will it be too messy to do any of this type of work? I definitely think tomorrow is a day when you can get some stuff done. The snow should be pretty light. It will be cold, temperatures in the 20s, but nowhere near as cold as it's going to be into Friday night. And the meat of the storm is likely to come tomorrow night into early Friday. So tomorrow, in my opinion, is a day where you can absolutely get some stuff done. Let's see, my Twitter feed has just been blowing up, so I'm going to have to bring that over and get a look at that so that I can answer some of those questions. Okay, question here from Rich. I know it's a little forward-looking, but do you expect any further snowfall on or after the weekend? Wondering a bit about cleanup, and I also had a question wondering about Monday's storm, so we'll tie those two together. And the answer to that question is that it will be a pretty quiet weekend, and the storm that arrives on Monday, in all likelihood, is going to be rain in southern New England. So we'll get a break from the snow for a little while. Direct question here about family flying in to Providence tomorrow at 5 in the afternoon. I've had a lot of questions, people coming back from their vacations, most coming back from Florida. And how does that look? 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Probably we'll be able to land with no problem. So I think that 5 o'clock tomorrow is probably a good time. Another one in by Logan by noon. Will she be able to get home from Logan to Providence? Yes, no problem. Tomorrow afternoon, just a little bit of light snow falling at that point. And another question here, you think New Bedford area could be in the jackpot area of 10 plus? Well, we already kind of covered that, and the answer to that question is, yeah, that's still a possibility. We'll look at the snowfall map here, and yeah, so I mean, you know, New Bedford's right in here. It's right on the edge. So yes, there is the possibility that New Bedford could end up with some heavier snow. That's definitely something that we'll be watching. Let me take a look here at my Facebook page. But again, if you have any questions, you can just ask them on the Facebook page, facebook.com/rightweather. Or you can ask them via Twitter, twitter.com/rightweather, or twitter.com/FredCampagna. Either one will work for that. All right, so no pending questions right now. Just a few more things to go over really quickly, and then we'll wrap it up by certainly before 9 o'clock. We're looking at the impact map that we provide here at Right Weather, and just gives you an overview. And we think this will be a storm where There is a high school impact potential. Again, we wouldn't expect it to be on Thursday, but sometimes school departments do things that we don't expect. So I would say that Friday is one of those days where a school would want to cancel after several inches of snow and temperatures that'll be in the single digits and low teens, and still snowing early Friday and possibly near zero by late Friday afternoon. But Thursday is still in play too, and I think that there will probably be some cancellations tomorrow if it does snow a little bit overnight like we're anticipating. But the snow tomorrow is going to be light. Don't expect any real heavy snow during the day tomorrow. Car impact travel is pretty high, mainly due to the duration of the storm, and it's one of those where there's not going to be a real lot of melting taking place because of the cold temperatures, especially tomorrow night and into Friday. So it's because it's being such a long storm. That's one of the reasons that we're really high in the car impact potential, and the air travel impact potential. Again, pretty high, but primarily if you're getting out, say, early out of Boston, early Friday morning rather, would be kind of difficult in this situation. Long duration storm, 30 to 36 hours, 35 to 55 mile per hour winds, strongest gusts in eastern Massachusetts. If the storm comes a little bit closer, then it becomes more like a 50 to 75 mile per hour, 50 to 70 mile per hour peak gust scenario. So that's not out of the realm of possibility, but right now we're going 35 to 55. As far as the storm timeline is concerned, this gives you an idea right here. Teens to 20s tonight, with an inch or two of snow possible by 7 in the morning. Then during the day tomorrow, and this is for the Providence area, it also includes, you can throw in most of Rhode Island and Bristol County, Massachusetts as well. Light snow during the day tomorrow. Actually, my temperatures are off here tomorrow, though. I just realized that. That should be more along the lines of like 25 to 29 during the day tomorrow, northeast wind, about 17 miles per hour. Then that temperature drops tomorrow night. That's not a misprint. That's 26 going down to 5 degrees. So we have one misprint in there for Thursday. But Thursday night into Friday, the temperature is going to drop by that much, and it will likely be in the single digits to low teens when it's still snowing on Friday morning. That's something that we don't see very often at all in southern New England. Snow ending between about 7 o'clock and 1 o'clock on Friday from west to east. Accumulating snow in the Providence area will probably end by about 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. Lingering flurries. The temperature creeping up to about 10 to 14 degrees for a short time on Friday before the bottom falls out and it goes down to 0 possibly by the mid-evening. It may slip below 0 before midnight and then hover between about 1 and 6 degrees or so below 0 on Friday night. So that's what we're up against as far as the there you go. As far as the storm timeline is concerned. Again, that snow forecast. Getting more questions specific, like what about this area? What about that area? Look at the map. And look where your city is and figure it out. That's basically the best way to do that. We don't hold anything back as far as the forecast goes. This is what we think is going to happen. There's no secret forecast that we only share with our private clients or our pro members or anything like that. This is our forecast right here. So that's it. That's the snow forecast right there. Driving to Connecticut Friday morning, how does it look? It looks snowy early Friday morning, but it will be tapering off, and it looks very, very. Friday morning, yeah, snowing early and then tapering off, very cold, single digits to low teens, and the storm will be moving away at that point from New England. So the accumulating snow should be over in Rhode Island by about say 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and it'll be over before that in Connecticut. So you'll be driving away from the storm as you head to Connecticut. Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this live broadcast. Thanks for checking it out. We will continue to keep you updated. We'll have another live blog tomorrow. We've been live blogging for the pro members for the last couple of days. We have a ton of new pro members, a lot of people taking advantage of our 15% off special that we've been running for the new year. That'll continue through the end of the week. So if that's something you're considering, $34 gets you a full year of Right Weather Pro access. And our pro members know and may remember that in the long range forecast back on December 19th, we talked about the potential for a storm right around the new year. So we've been on a little roll with our long range forecast, and hopefully we can keep it rolling into what looks like a pretty active winter in southeastern New England. So you can just join Right Weather Pro at rightweather.com. Sign up today. Tomorrow's live blog will be open to everyone. We don't, when a storm is hitting, the live blog is available to everyone. We try to serve the public as best we can, but prior to the storm, the live blog is generally for pro members so that you can get in-depth analysis and get your questions answered and things along those lines. So thanks for joining us. Hope you have a great night. Happy New Year, and keep checking rightweather.com for the latest.